So today I thought I would go through my Arina Franzén Botanical Perfumery line, starting with Oud Fig over to green tea and black currant, the smoke and mirrors, the ancient woods, and finally Tuberose Noir. All these fragrances are inspired by nature, and on the website it doesn't specifically say that they are 100% natural, but they are quoted as natural perfumes, whatever that may be. So let's start with the one I would consider the most summer fragrance of the bunch, which is Oud Fig. This one has a very bright and juicy fig, not as bright as something like Fico di Amalfi, but in the same vein as Fico di Amalfi. It's more of a dense and more intense fig, and it's less fresh, clean, and citrusy and more woody. It sort of transitions into a lot more woody fragrance with fig on top. It's very characteristic, it's very nice wear, it's very refreshing and generally pleasant to wear, even in the hotter days. It's beginning to get very hot. We had some insane summer days right already, and I wore all of these I've worn now in the past week, or this specific week now. Some in the daytime, some in the nighttime, specifically because of the heat. I can't wear these two on the day and in the daytime. They are too intense, but the other three is perfectly wearable. And this one is just, I would say this is, if you like Fico di Amalfi, but you want something more, like something that would be more quality, something that will have more character, something that would have more complexity and nuances, then this is a really nice one. It says Oud and Fig, but there is no Oud. It's woods and fig. It's used agarwood, which is considered Oud, but it's not Oud. So yeah, I don't like that stuff, but whatever. In general though, very, very nice fragrance. Beautiful to wear, absolutely recommended, but all of these are now discontinued. So second is the green tea and black currant. This one I can't quite make up my mind, because when I smell this, half of the time all I smell is a tobacco pouch, the kind where you roll your own cigarettes. And the other half, I get the tea-like fragrance, but mostly the black currant. It's really good wear. It's kind of cozy and refreshing at the same time. That tobacco-like scent is sort of calming, but the freshness from fruits and tea is also doing its thing. So it's sort of a weird one. I'm not completely sold on it. I don't know if that's just me, if it's just my skin. These are, like I said, supposed to be natural perfumery. All natural fragrances can be very different for a lot of people. Some people will pick up certain molecules, some people will not. That is the difference between a designer that uses 2 or 3 molecules to replicate a flower, while a real ingredient from a flower will have like 200 molecules. Some you will smell, some you won't, some will affect how you smell, which is why I prefer the natural stuff, because it sort of evolves and changes, and it always has more character and more development and evolution. But this one I'm not quite sure of. So third is Smoke and Mirrors. And this is probably the most complex of the 4 and 5. There is so much going on here. The first thing that hits me is spices and honeyed sweetness. But there's also incense or some sort of frankincense or something like that, giving it a smoky, sort of ethereal smoky. It's also got a lot of woods. It wouldn't surprise me if there's some florals in here. I could read the ingredients. Maybe I'll do that later. But this just, there is so much going on, and wearing this is a real treat. So this one is maybe a little bit too warm for late spring and summer. So this will probably get back in rotation for fall and winter, but definitely a one I will be wearing. I really, really enjoy this one. It is cozy and warm, and it is sort of comforting, and it's also a little bit mysterious and alluring. There's a slight gourmand touch to it with that honey note. And yeah, it does so much. And I think the whole point with the name Smoke and Mirrors is sort of that it's sort of, you can't quite grasp it. It's sort of smoke and mirrors, literally. And that's sort of what I get from it. It's sort of, I sort of get a lot of impressions, and it sort of just drifts away before I can pin it down with words or emotions. It just constantly just waving around me and grabbing all the senses. Fourth is the Ancient Woods. This one is probably the easiest one. This is pretty straightforward. It's woody, really woody. And there is a little bit of smoke and powderiness, but mostly it's woods, maybe some moss or like some earthly plants, maybe even some earth. But it's very dense, it's very ancient, and it's a dark area, not too much light. It's a little damp and I would say earthy. But it doesn't have an earthy note per se, but it has that feeling of moist earth. The feeling, not the scent. It's complicated, but it's simple. It's basically the scent of being in dense, wet wood. An ancient, dense, wet forest/wood. This transports me more to an area than any of the others. All of these are scents that evoke emotions, but this one actually gives me an image of an area, of a specific place. And that's what makes this one very special. And finally, the Tuberose Noir. This is probably my favorite. And this is very much a floral scent. If you're not into florals, this will not be for you. I think this will be easier to pull off for a woman, but a man can easily pull it off with a little bit of confidence. It opens a little bit feminine, but it pretty quickly tones down to a more woody, woody-ish note. So this is very floral, but it's, like I said, not feminine floral. It's dark, intense. It's clean, but it's not like soapy. It sort of gives me a delicate and elegant feel. Like if you're going somewhere very special and you're sort of not walking, you're sort of gliding across the room. That's sort of what this is. This is extremely elegant, extremely put together, and it's very addictive. It's almost reaching the point of gourmand because it's a lot of floral sweetness in it. Or not a lot, but there is some floral sweetness. But because it's so dark, it almost reaches the point of booziness. And there is some woods here that sort of just, I don't know, grounds it. It makes it sort of a little bit masculine. And when this starts drying down, like in the mid, it really becomes perfectly unisex, even leaning towards masculine on my skin, which makes it sort of a weird fragrance that it starts out pretty feminine and it sort of moves towards more masculine as it evolves. That's probably something to do with my skin. Probably going to be different on every other person. Probably going to be different on men versus women. And that is the big thing about these. Probably no one else is going to smell the same thing that I smell with these because they're naturals, and that's just how naturals work. You kind of have to smell it for yourself to really know what you're actually going to get. But yeah, since these are going out of production and very few people actually have them, I thought someone should do a review on them. So I'm going to do a quick impressions of each of one of them, just score. The Oud Fig, I would give a nice 8 out of 10. It's very refreshing, it's very nice, it wears perfect from start to finish for summer, late spring. This is gorgeous. However, for the price, I think it's a little overpriced, and the lack of actual oud in a fragrance called Oud Fig is going to hold it down. But the scent itself is really, really good. I will never get tired of wearing this. The green tea and black currant, I can't give this any more than a 6 out of 10. Basically, it smells nice in the air. It's sort of nice to wear, but it's very linear. It doesn't change at all on me. And the scent sort of flips between the blackcurrant fruitiness and the tobacco pouch. So I cannot say this is a more than a 6 out of 10 for me. Smoke and Mirrors, on the other hand. Whew, this is going to get a 9.25. Because this is better than just exceptional. This is borderlining legendary. Because there is so many impressions, so many states of evolving, and the senses just keep getting pulled in every direction, and this is perfumery at its best. My personal taste is the only thing keeping this from getting a 10 out of 10. These are all my personal scores, mind you. And for me, this is a 9.25. It's because it's got honey in it. I'm not a huge fan of honey. It's also a little bit sweet. I'm not huge into sweet fragrances, but it's not bad. It's like 10% on the sweet scale. But yeah, it's really nice. I'm really looking forward to wearing this. This kind of reminds me of Himajoma's Autumn in Loca. It doesn't have the grainy barley note, so it doesn't quite get there, and it doesn't have the piney notes that sort of gives me that forest feel. But the smoke and the spices and the warmth and a little bit of sweetness, yeah, it could get bumped up when it gets to fall and I'm starting to wear this more and I get that fall vibes. Ancient Woods, I would give this a nice 9 out of 10. It's not quite as good as Smoke and Mirrors, because this doesn't quite have all the things going on, but it's very transportative, if that's a word. It sort of really puts me in the forests or in the dense woods. It's sort of nighttime. It's very hard to describe emotions to this one other than that it's calming and sort of mysteriously scary at the same time. Sort of like being alone in the woods. If you're comfortable in the woods, then that's not a problem. If you really are uncomfortable in the woods, then that will be scary. And that's sort of where this is. If you're comfortable with that dense and like intense earth, intense woody, old woody, little bit moist, earthy, mossy woods, then this will hit home. It's also a little bit powdery, which I don't know quite where that would fit in a forest. But it has a sort of powdery undertone. Tuberose Noir, I can't give it a 10 out of 10 because it's not 10 out of 10, but it's very close. So it's like a 9.5 out of 10. That little bit feminine intro, it puts me off a little bit, but as soon as I wore this and I was like prepared for it, no problem. But it does have a suave to it. It's sort of elegant. It's a floating fragrance. It's not a walk. You're not wearing this and running anywhere. If you're wearing this, you expect someone to almost carry you somewhere. You just feel so elegant and so rich and so dense and so much. This is like wearing all the jewelry and all the like highest designer clothing. This is polished shoes. This is wearing gloves. I mean, this is just the whole 9 yards. This is everything. This is elegant suit. This is beautiful dress. This is like wearing a tiara or a fedora. This is really like the peak of elegance. Yeah, this is so good. I'm almost tempted to give this a 9.75. It's very close, very close. That is basically fragrances. And so I'm gonna do a quick note description of all the fragrances. And I'm just going to read the notes of the box. So this is not my impressions. These are just literally what the box says. So I'm starting with Oud Fig, which is described as a woody family fragrance, which I can sort of put down as yes. I would add green and fruity as sort of the, at least 40% of this is green and fruity in some percentage, and 60% woody. The woods more after a while, the fruits in the beginning, and the green sort of in the mid. It also says that the scent is sweet, woody, warm and enveloping with a gentle scent of fresh figs. I agree with that. Perfume notes is fig, Buddha wood, ebony wood, aged sandalwood, and agarwood. So note that this doesn't say oud on any of these because there are no oud in this fragrance. There are just woods and fig. And basically that's what you're getting. And it's done pretty much to perfection if it was called woods and fig. So the second is the green tea and black currant, which is a green gourmand, which I'm not sure I would agree with. This doesn't smell anything like gourmand to me. It smells like tobacco leaves and fruits in some sort of combination. If there is tea in here, it is a very concentrated tea, and I have gotten some whiffs, like when the wind sort of blows and I suddenly get a little bit of like the weak whiff, and yeah, that's kind of tea-like, but it's very intense, and I think that intensity makes it sort of over-scenting the area, making it hard for me, at least as the wearer, to catch the green tea part. Anyway, the scent is fruity, earthy, warm, and deep green. Yeah, that's more, I would say that's pretty much a good description, because it is fruity with that black currant. Earthy, yeah, if you think of it like what I consider to be tobacco, it could kind of be considered some sort of earthy. It's definitely warm, and deep green would be a good way of saying the green tea, because it's very deep. It's to the point where it's hard to actually get tea. It's more of like, maybe if you have like concentrated like in the bag and you sniff the bag, maybe. I have a lot of green tea I could check, but I would actually say that's a pretty good description of it. Perfume notes: elemi, green mandarin, black currant, black spruce, copaiba balsam, clary sage, and mate. I was not aware that mate was considered green tea. Of course it is green, but anyways, that's the black green tea and black currant. Then we have the smoke and mirrors, which looks like this. And the bottle. And yeah, the fragrance family is amber, which, yeah, absolutely, amber. Scent: honeyed, earthy, waxy, smoky, opulent, powdery, ethereal. I think I even said ethereal, or it was, I think that was for the ancient woods actually. But yeah, I would say that's pretty close. I don't get the waxy. I don't know how opulent. I don't know that word well enough to describe this as opulent. Maybe a little bit powdery. I wouldn't think powdery. The way I would describe this is, I would add honeyed, yes, smoky, definitely. I would also add woody, and yeah, ambery, and spicy. It's sort of weird that it doesn't say spicy, because I get like cinnamon, a decent amount of cinnamon. Makes me think of Christmas, actually, a little bit. Perfume notes are rosewood, blood orange, bergamot, beeswax, rock rose, I think that's also known as labdanum, mimosa, jasmine, balsam of Peru, vetiver, cypriol, tonka bean, and cypress. Cypress, that's something, yeah. That's what I'm getting with that sort of fresh woodiness. Cypress really makes sense. Anyways, I'm trying to make this a little bit shorter than it has to be. Ancient woods, the box. Yeah, I didn't show you the back of the boxes, but they're basically just the breakdowns of what I'm telling you plus the ingredients. The bottle. Fragrance family is woody. It's called ancient woods, so it's no surprise. Very much agree. Scent is resinous, soft, grounding, earthy, and balsamic. I forgot to say balsamic. It's definitely balsamic. But I would also add powdery. It doesn't say powdery here. It has powdery notes. It's also a little bit smoky, but it's not incense smoke. It's more of a, what do you call that? Peru balsam, I think, that has that typical sort of just burnt woods sort of smell. It's not a whole lot, but just a little bit in the background, keeping it really elegant. So the perfume notes are clary sage, lemon, beeswax, copaiba balsam, palo santo, frankincense, black spruce, sandalwood, spikenard, don't know what that is, and oak moss. So pretty much how I explained it. Frankincense makes sense. That's probably where I get the smokiness from. I thought it was more of a burnt woods thing, but frankincense could make sense. Definitely has that mossiness and a lot of woods. Don't get any lemon whatsoever. I have no idea where the lemon is here. But the clary sage gives it that sort of a little bit of lift and sort of a little bit of ethereal combination with all the other darker things. So yeah, that's Ancient Woods. And finally, we get to my favorite, which is Tuberose Noir. Yeah, same box behind. And the bottle. And yeah, fragrance family, dark floral. Definitely. Perfect explanation. Scent, mysterious, rich floral, elegant tart. The tart part I don't get, but elegant, definitely. Because this is one of the most elegant fragrances I've ever smelled. The moment I smelled this, I needed a bottle. Perfume notes, coconut pulp, very surprising. Petitgrain sur fleurs, I have no idea what that is. Petitgrain of some sort. Pink peppercorn, iris, pink lotus, jasmine, magnolia, ylang ylang, tuberose, mate, hay, Buddha wood, and carrot seeds. Yeah, so iris and carrot seeds. That will definitely bring the powderiness. And I think that's part of what makes it elegant. That slight powder in the background, but it's not a super powder. It's like you notice it, but it's not something that sort of sticks out. What really sticks out is the florals and how they blended so well together. It's sort of, you have the sweetness and the intensity of florals. It's amazing. It's simply amazing. So that is the 5 Arina Franzén Botanical Gardens fragrances that I own. These very much stain your clothes. So be careful. This, not so much. This is okay. This, if you go heavy on the sprays and on white, this will stain, but I haven't had an issue with my clothes. I haven't worn it with white, but I've worn it with bright colors, light blue, and I'm not going to say any other colors because I don't remember what other colors I've worn, but at least with a bright blue, and that was fine. These, on the other hand, are very dark, and yeah, you can see they are basically black. This is a little bit green, this is a little bit red, and this is also a little bit red. While these two are sort of yellow and red, or orange. If there's any questions, leave them in the comments and I'll try to update. I can't remember anything else that I want to say, and the video is already too long, so I'm just going to end it here. Thank you for watching. Hope you'll come back and see me again for my next video.